You're listening to the Kirkintilloch Herald, a Q&Review recording service podcast, brought to you by our team of volunteers currently recording from their homes across Scotland. Whether you're listening via the BWBF online players, the telephone app, or our brand new Alexa skill, please phone us on 0141 772 3976 to feedback on what you want us to provide and improve upon. Please also join your family and friends in being our audio ambassadors and share our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram all at Q&Review. That's at symbol CUEANDREVIEW.
The Kirkintilloch and Bishopbriggs Herald podcast, as published on Wednesday, the 14th of September 2022. Tributes to the Queen, read by Ian. Civic representatives of Eastern Bartonshire have paid tribute to Queen Elizabeth II following her death at the age of 96. Provost Gillian Rennick, Civic head of the council, said, "I was deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Her Majesty, the Queen Elizabeth II. As Civic head of Eastern Bartonshire, I will be sending my sincere condolences from the people of Eastern Bartonshire to His Majesty the King and the wider members of the royal family. She was an inspirational head of state, widely respected throughout Britain, the Commonwealth, and the world. Earlier this year, she became the first British monarch to reign for 70 years. Throughout this year, we have been celebrating her Platinum Jubilee, acknowledging and commemorating her wonderful service to the country throughout that reign. She was not only much loved by people throughout the world, we must also remember that she was also a beloved mother, grandmother and great-grandmother. My heartfelt thoughts are with all members of the royal family at this immensely sad time." Lord Lieutenant Jill Young, MBE, added her thoughts over the death of Her Majesty. She said, "This is a time of great sadness for the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth and the County of Dunbartonshire with the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The head of a worldwide family of over 2 billion people, she had an extraordinarily long reign, the longest of any British sovereign. She was an outstanding example of service, both in wartime and peacetime, and a symbol of stability throughout the decades in which the world has seen so many changes. The County of Dunbartonshire was honoured to have many visits by Her Majesty throughout her reign, and last summer she visited the Iron Brew Factory in Cumbernauld. Our condolences go to all the members of the royal family. We look back with gratitude and look forward to offering support and loyalty to the King. God save the King." This week in history. September the 14th, 1901, US President William McKinley died in Buffalo 8 days after being shot by an anarchist. He was succeeded by Theodore Roosevelt. On this day last year, government ministers unveiled their blueprint for living with the virus through the winter, setting out plans for COVID booster jabs. September 15th, 1974, civil war broke out in Beirut between Christians and Muslims. September 16th, 1963, Malaysia became independent, and a mob celebrated by burning down the British Embassy. On this day last year, SpaceX sent their first ever all-civilian crewed rocket into orbit from the Kennedy Space Center. September 17th, 1961, one of London's biggest ban the bomb demos ended with 830 arrested, including actress Vanessa Redgrave and playwright John Osborne. On this day last year, Elizabeth Estenson retired from her role as Diane Sugden on Emmerdale after 22 years on the soap. September 18th, 1905, Greta Garbo, the Swedish shopgirl who became one of the world's most legendary film stars of all time, was born. September 19th, 1975, the first episode of Fawlty Towers was broadcast by the BBC.
Sympathy Messages is recorded by Hunter MacDonald. Members of the public in North Lanarkshire can leave messages of sympathy following the death of Her Majesty the Queen on Thursday, September the 8th. An online book of condolence is available, as well as physical books at 7 locations across North Lanarkshire. Tributes on behalf of people in the area have been led by the Provost Councillor Kenneth Duffy, who said, "It is with great sadness that I extend my deepest condolences on behalf of the residents of North Lanarkshire to the family of Her Majesty the Queen following her death on Thursday 8th of September 2022. Earlier this year we celebrated the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, marking 70 years of her service on the throne. Her passing affects us all. Our thoughts, prayers and love remain with the Queen's family at this time of great sadness."
Religious leaders expressed sorrow. The man who was the domestic chaplain to the Queen at her beloved Crathy Kirk has expressed his boundless admiration for the extraordinary woman who was the figure on the world stage, but also part of his flock. The Reverend Kenneth Mackenzie, who is minister of the parish of Braemar and Crathy, said, "Hers was a long life, a life shaped by faith, infused with grace and characterised by selfless service. With people all across this nation and Commonwealth, most of whom have never known life without the Queen, we share an uncommon yet communal sense of loss. We who live in this beautiful part of God's creation, a place and a community beloved by the late Queen, have been granted a degree of insight into just how deeply her death will affect each and every member of her family and household. Our thoughts and prayers are with them all." Meanwhile, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Scotland also paid its own tribute. Its president, Bishop Hugh Gilbert, said, "It was with great sadness that we learned today of the death of Her Majesty the Queen. Her life of outstanding service during a reign of 70 years stands as an example of dedicated public service in our own country, across the Commonwealth, and around the world. Her determination to remain active to the end of her long life has been an example of Christian leadership, which demonstrated her great stoicism and commitment to duty." Read by Alan Todd.
Book of Condolences open at City Chambers. This is an article written by Liam Smiley. This is Colin Hendry. A Book of Condolences has been opened in Glasgow City Chambers, and people have been invited to come along and sign it to pay respect to Queen Elizabeth II. The Lord Provost of Glasgow City Council was the first to sign the book. It was then signed by the city's second and third citizens, the Lord Dean and the Deacon Convener. The Book of Condolence will be available to sign by the public weekdays between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. and at weekends between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Those looking to leave floral tributes to the Queen can leave the flowers at the designated area at the front wall of Glasgow City Chambers. An online book is also available through East Dunbartonshire Council's website. Meanwhile, the Royal British Legion Scotland said it is deeply saddened to learn of the passing of its sovereign and patron, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth served as its patron since her accession in 1952, taking over this role from her father, King George VI, and earlier her grandfather, King George V. Its spokesperson said, "The Queen granted us the royal title in 1971, the year of the Legion's Golden Jubilee. Legion Scotland then led the organisation of the 20th Annual Conference of the British Commonwealth Ex-Services League in Edinburgh in May 1977. In 1981, she carried out the Royal Review, where she was joined by 3,000 Legionnaires in Holyrood Park to mark our Diamond Jubilee. We have also been honoured annually to receive her greetings and well wishes to our members on the occasion of our conference, as well as her congratulations last year when Legion Scotland marked out our centenary. Throughout her reign, the Queen was diligently served as Commander-in-Chief of the British Armed Forces. Her relationship with the Armed Forces began before her accession when she joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service, ATS, in 1945. She became the first female member of the royal family to serve as a full-time active member of the Armed Forces. Her Majesty had a tireless devotion to her nation and had been an inspiration, We are hugely thankful for her faithful lifetime of service. That was an article by Liam Smiley.
Kirky folk out for coronation. Local people turned out in their droves for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. Flags and bunting were out in evidence to support the new Queen, who was only 25 when she took to the throne. The town was just one of many across the UK to be decorated in red, white and blue bunting for street parties. The coronation was the first to be televised, and the sales of TV sets rocketed. In the 1950s they were black and white, the most popular 14-inch screens. Millions of people across the UK watched the service on television, outnumbering the radio audience for the first time.
First Minister among first to pay tribute. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon was among the first to pay tribute to the Queen in a Scottish Government announcement. Flags flew at half-mast in all Scottish Government buildings, and on behalf of the people of Scotland, the First Minister sent a message of condolence to the new King and other members of the royal family. Confirming that the monarch had passed away at Balmoral, Miss Sturgeon said, "Her Majesty the Queen gave decades of her life in service and has died here in Scotland as our longest serving monarch. Our condolences are with the King, the Queen Consort and the wider royal family. Millions around the world will share their grief, but only they will feel the loss of a mother and grandmother. The Queen was unflinching in her dedication to duty, unwavering in her commitment to public service, and unmatched in her devotion to the people of this country and the wider Commonwealth. We are all saddened by the news and will come together in the days ahead to mourn. But it is right and proper that we celebrate the unparalleled contribution she made in her 70 years as sovereign. The Queen came to the throne following the Second World War. She reigned through decades of social change and lived to be the monarch who opened our Scottish Parliament in the age of devolution. Largely through her belief in the value of diverse nations coming together to celebrate humanity, the Queen played a leading role in creating the modern Commonwealth, 53 countries across 6 continents working together. Scotland was special to her, and she was special to Scotland. Throughout her life, she had a particular fondness for Aberdeenshire and her home there in Balmoral, where she spent her final days. But her contribution to Scotland, to Scottish public life, extended throughout our country and abroad, and was deeply felt by thousands. In the coming days, there will be ample opportunity for people to pay their respects by attending events across the country. The state funeral for Queen Elizabeth II will take place at Westminster Abbey on Monday, September 19th. King Charles III was officially proclaimed new monarch in a ceremony on Saturday.
Lindsay Family's Poignant Farewell to the Monarch by Alison Campsey. For Shona Dyack of Lindsay, East Dunbartonshire, having the chance to pay her respects to the Queen at Balmoral had a deep poignancy. She said on Saturday, "I feel emotional being here. The reality is, the Queen is today just at the end of the drive. We come here on holiday and stay on the estate, and we have watched her come out of the gate many times. Now, this will be the last time." Shona was among the crowds who gathered on the Queen's final day at Balmoral for the fondest of farewells as the royal family thanked the public for their support. By the busload, people came to say goodbye and queued in polite fashion for the moment to leave a flower, pay their respects and play witness to this end of an era in deepest, most serene Deeside. Utter silence pinned the crowd as members of the royal family, including Princess Anne, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, along with a number of the Queen's grandchildren, left their heavily plated cars to greet the public after attending private prayers at Crathie Kirk shortly after 2 p.m. On Sunday morning, the Queen left her beloved Balmoral behind for the very last time as her final journey from Scotland began. The royal cortege, on a scale never seen before, emerged from the castle gates at 10 a.m. with a procession of cars to make its way through Deeside and then to Aberdeen, Dundee and Edinburgh. Thousands lined the route, which slowed to walking pace at points, with the journey to the capital to take more than 6 hours. The 175-mile journey ended at the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh. St Giles Cathedral was to host a service to celebrate the Queen's life and her connection to Scotland. She was to lay at rest there until yesterday afternoon, Tuesday, allowing members of the public to pay their last respects. From Thursday, the Queen will lie in state at Westminster Hall for 4 days. Her funeral will take place at Westminster Abbey on Monday, September 19. The last member of the royal family to lie in state in the hall was the Queen Mother in 2002, when more than 200,000 people queued to view her coffin. That article was by Alison Campsey.
Moderator's memories of Queen. A former moderator of the Church of Scotland has shared his treasured memories of Her Majesty the Queen. The Very Reverend Dr. Angus Morrison, a member of the Chapel Royal, spent a weekend at Balmoral during his time as moderator from the 2015 to 2016. He said, "I suspect, like most visiting preachers, spending the weekend at Balmoral with the Queen for the first time, I was somewhat nervous in anticipation of our first meeting. Escorted to the drawing room, I found the Queen sitting at a small table playing the game of patience. After friendly greetings, she resumed her seat, with me sitting close by. She continued to play as we engaged in conversation. It struck me as a very kind means of helping the visitor to relax, having us both focus on the table and cards. As the conversation developed, the Queen gave increasingly less attention to the game and became quite animated as we spoke. While, of course, one always remained very aware of who this extraordinary person of such presence was, the Queen's genuine personal interest and humanity soon dispelled any sense of nervous unease." He added, "Towards the end of each season at Balmoral, it was the Queen's custom to send members of her staff there with a gift. I was invited to accompany her to the ballroom for this special occasion. We met first in the library, where a horse race was underway in the somewhat unusual television installed there. One of the Queen's own horses was competing, and we stood in the middle of the floor with Her Majesty clutching her handbag for what felt like a rather long time. The Queen's commentary as the race progressed, especially when another horse appeared to cut across hers, was interesting to say the least. Afterwards, in the ballroom, she presented a beautifully illustrated book about British flora and fauna to all of the staff present, as they came forward one by one to receive it in person from her. One strong impression that remains with me was the way the Queen gave to each individual her full attention as she gave their books. She was a remarkable woman." Frail Queen was in good spirits for last picture. The Queen was frail but in good spirits when photographer Jane Barlow took the last public pictures of her. Jane, who formerly worked for her sister titled The Scotsman, had been dispatched to Balmoral to capture the moment when the monarch met the new Prime Minister, formally appointing Liz Truss to her new role. While waiting for the Conservative leader to arrive at the Queen's Highland retreat, she took some portraits. In true British style, there was small talk about the weather, with dark skies and heavy rain overhead for much of the day. But Jane, who has been a staff photographer with PA in Scotland for 6 years, said for the Queen, I got a lot of smiles from her. Miss Truss was then formally announced and came into the room, and she greeted her with a big smile. With the Queen and a new Prime Minister in conversation, Barlow was ushered out. She added, "It's a real privilege to be able to take that picture, and an honour and a privilege. It's like that for a lot of our job. I was there to photograph her meeting the new Prime Minister, but for me the best picture was one of the Queen on her own, and it has obviously become more significant now." Speaking about the Queen, she said, "She certainly did look more frail than when I photographed her in the summer. When she came up for Holyrood Week at the time, they were telling me she would do 1, perhaps 2 engagements, but she did quite a lot that week." That week saw Jane photograph the Queen as she had audiences with Nicola Sturgeon and Holyrood presiding officer Alison Johnson, and as she took part in a number of official engagements, including the ceremony of the Keys, which marks the start of the week of royal engagements north of the border, and the Rendendo Parade, involving the Royal Company of Archers, which functions as the monarch's ceremonial bodyguard in Scotland. They also had important roles in this week's events in Edinburgh, including the proclamation of accession to King Charles III. Chief Executive delivers local proclamation. Eastern Bartonshire Council's Chief Executive, Jerry Corns, delivered the local proclamation on Sunday, following the sad news of the death of Her Majesty. Consistent with protocol, the local ceremony took place following the proclamation in Scotland at the Mercat in Edinburgh at noon the same day. In addition to the Chief Executive's invited guests, members of the public were welcome to attend. Guests at the proclamation included local politicians. Among them were Strathkelvin and Bearsden MSP Rona Mackay and West of Scotland MSP Pam Gozzo. Proclamation ceremonies have taken place across the UK and events held across the Commonwealth to mark the new King. In Edinburgh, crowds gathered at the Mercat Cross in the city's Royal Mile to hear the Lord Lion, King of Arms, read the address. The event followed a ceremony at St James Palace on Saturday when King Charles was confirmed as the new monarch before a meeting of the Extension Council. A 21-gun salute also took place in Edinburgh Castle, where a second proclamation was also read. Giving his first proclamation, the Lord Lion told the crowd, "God save the King." The crowd shouted back in celebration, "God save the King," and then the national anthem was sung by the crowd. The Lord Lion King led 3 cheers, saying, "Hip hip." The crowd then replied with, "Hooray."
Ex-Provost and trip down memory lane. The passing of Queen Elizabeth II last Thursday, 8 September 2022, fills us all with a mixed set of emotions, writes former Eastern Bartonshire Provost Eric Gotts. On the one hand, we feel a great sense of loss, not just for the rest of the royal family, but also for the nation as a whole. On the other hand, we feel blessed in having a constitutional monarch who during her long reign made service and duty to her country such a high priority, even to the very end of her life. One of the black and white photographs in our present heritage exhibitions in Mulgai Library shows a proclamation being read out in Mulgai announcing her accession in 1952. It is amazing to think that Queen Elizabeth then went on to reign for another 70 years. Her son, now King Charles III, will have a hard act to follow, but all will wish him well in his role.
Help small firms, urges councillor. A local councillor has called for support for small businesses facing astronomical price rises this winter. Bishopbriggs man Ben Rose, who owns Rose and Grant's Daily Cafe in Glasgow Stronggate, says his bills are expected to surge from £7,000 up to more than £30,000. Prospective Lib Dem candidate for Eastern Bartonshire at the next general elections, Susan Murray has called for more action from the Prime Minister to rescue small businesses. Murray warns that hundreds of small businesses across Eastern Bartonshire are facing an Armageddon in the face of soaring energy this winter. Susan Murray said, "This may lead to an Armageddon for the hospitality trade and other small businesses. Eastern Bartonshire's high streets risk being devastated by spiralling energy costs and turned into ghost towns, but the Conservatives don't seem to get it or care." The Liberal Democrats have proposed a rescue package that would offer grants of up to £50,000 to help small businesses. The plans could benefit 1,522 small and medium-sized businesses in Eastern Bartonshire, including many family-owned shops and hairdressers, and around 90 cafes, restaurants, pubs and nightclubs. Susan Murray, currently a councillor for Kirkintilloch East and North and Twyker, added, "We need this energy bailout now to save our high streets, rescue small businesses and keep prices down for local families. The Scottish Government would get its share of UK funding, just as it did during the pandemic. We've known this hike was coming for months and the Government has done nothing." Under the Liberal Democrat scheme, small businesses will be able to apply for government grants covering 80% of the increase in their energy bills for 1 year, up to a maximum of £50,000. The plans could help 1.4 million small businesses across the UK. Liberal Democrat chiefs say the scheme would cost an estimated £10 billion and could be met by reversing Conservative tax cuts for big banks.
Stub out or be fined. Strathclyde and Bearsden MSP Rona Mackay has welcomed the fact that patients and healthcare staff will no longer face second-hand smoke at hospital doors as a nationwide ban came into effect this week. The new legislation means anyone found lighting up within 15 metres of a hospital building could face a fixed penalty, notice of £50 or a fine of up to £1,000 if the case goes to court. This is the latest step in the Scottish Government's plan, supports a voluntary smoke-free hospital grounds policy introduced in 2015. The new law will apply to NHS hospital settings used for the treatment and care of patients and includes a ban on lighting up beneath overhanging structures. Public Health Minister Marie Todd added, "This new law is the latest step in our plan to make Scotland tobacco-free by 2034.
New sites looked at for council housing. North Lanarkshire Council is evaluating several new locations as potential sites for council housing development as part of its ongoing housing programme. The local authority has a target to provide 5,000 new homes by 2035, including properties purchased through its buyback schemes. To date, 954 new build homes have been completed, with a further 383 homes under construction. An additional 570 homes have been purchased through the buyback schemes as at 12th July 2022. The council is also considering purchasing 12 new homes at Bellways Development in Johnston Road, Gartcosh, but a price for this is yet to be finalised. The housing developments now being considered are 100 units at Kirkwood Sports Pitches in Coatbridge, 25 units on the former St Mary's Primary School site in Caldercrooks, 26 units on Thorn Road in Bells Hill, 75 units on Airdrie Hill Road in Airdrie, 10 units at the Masonic Hall in Motherwell's Hope Street, which may involve conversion of the existing premises, and 40 units on Main Street in Coatbridge. Meanwhile, market conditions have also slowed the rate at which North Lanarkshire Council has been able to purchase homes from owners. Since April 2021, North Lanarkshire Council has purchased at least 85 homes on the open market in order to rent them to tenants, with a further 15 potential transactions currently being processed. However, this is lower than the target of 130 properties, with the shortfall largely attributed to sellers being able to offload properties quickly and for better prices than the council can offer. The points were addressed in a report to the Housing Committee, which detailed how the council has been purchasing homes on the open market since 2018 and initially did well, which resulted in targets being raised from 100 homes to 130. However, the impact of the pandemic, followed by market conditions, have seen a decline in recent years. Head of Housing Solutions, Stephen Llewellyn, added that tenants in properties purchased by the council tended to benefit from significant reductions in rent, often paying around half as much. The committee noted the report, and a further update will be given in 6 months.
Possum Charity. A leading Scottish community retailer is hoping to get tongues and tails wagging with the announcement of its new charity partnership. ScotMet has taken the lead and chosen Guide Dogs as its backingly brilliant charity companion, with plans to raise £250,000 over the course of the year-long partnership. The funding will enable Guide Dogs to train 3 new habilitation specialists, as well as 2 guide dog mobility specialists who will help and support hundreds more people in Scotland who are living with sight loss. Guide Dogs habilitation specialist staff support children and young people with a vision impairment, providing them with the skills they need to live an independent and active life and helping them reach their full potential.
More Real Living Wage Employers in Local Area by Will Grimmond. More Eastern Bartonshire employers have signed up to the Voluntary Living Wage scheme over the past year, new figures show. The Living Wage Foundation encourages employers to sign up to pay a real living wage, which is higher than the minimum wage and pegged to living costs. The rate, which is calculated by a group of economists and applies to employees aged 18 and over, currently stands at £9.90 per hour across the UK and £11.05 in London, to reflect higher prices in the capital. For comparison, the government's living wage stands at £9.50 per hour for people aged 23 and over and £9.18 for over 21s. Figures shared with Radar show there were 23 accredited real living wage employers in Eastern Bartonshire as of the start of July, up from 18 at the same point last year and 8 5 years ago. The soaring cost of fuel, energy and food has put wages under the spotlight. Workers in some industries have gone on strike this summer, asking for a better deal from their employers. Catherine Chapman, director of the Living Wage Foundation, said the cost of living crisis has made increasing wages for the low paid more important than ever. She said paying the living wage is not only the right thing to do for struggling workers and families, but it's also good for businesses, with employers benefiting from greater staff morale and productivity and reduced staff absenteeism and turnover. The foundation announced in May that 10,000 employers had signed up to the scheme, covering nearly 350,000 workers, or around 1 in 13 employees in the UK. As of July 1st, there were 10,765 organisations paying the real living wage across the UK, up from 8,107 in 2021 and 3,383 in 2017. Researchers at Cardiff University estimate this has provided an extra £1.8 billion to low-paid staff. Across Scotland, there are 2,790 real living wage employers, an increase from 880 in 2017. Despite this, many UK workers are still on low pay. The Office for National Statistics estimated that in April 2021, nearly 300,000 employees were paid below the government's living or minimum wage, excluding those furloughed at the time. That was an article by Will Grimmond.
Opinion. Let's talk. This week's letters page. Please send your letters via email to kirkintilloch@jnscotland.co.uk and write letters in the subject field. Monarchy is protected against capitalism. Sir, the monarchy provides a link between feudalism and economic and social order that preceded the emergence of capitalism. Feudalism provided stability, continuity and hierarchy, leavened by adaptability. There was a place for everyone, and everyone had a place. The late Queen adapted and overcame challenges to reaffirm and personify these feudal fundamentals, following a period of instability and uncertainty in this monarchy. Capitalism, in contrast to feudalism, privileges change, grow, disruption and mobility. Everything is up for grabs, and there is a cycle of creation and destruction and creation again. There are winners and losers, the rich, the middle and the poor. The losers include the homeless, the refugees, the lonely, the oppressed and too many more. Nature and planetary survival have now joined the ranks of the losers, and the threatened as the carbon-charged capitalism of the 20th century became the turbocharged capitalism of the 21st century. This is the world that Charles III and the rest of us inhabit. It is no surprise that embedded in and drawing on his feudal heritage and sensibility, the then Prince Charles extended his involvement in charities that responded to the inequalities and inequities of capitalism to encompass concerns about the land, the built environment and city, nature and environmental and climate change. King Charles III will do no less and no more. Yours etc. Stuart Sweeney, by email. Princes and Ponies. Sir, back in August 1978, I was invited to be minister for the weekend at Balmoral. Dinner on the Sunday was definitely a close family occasion, though Prince Philip was absent. So it was no surprise when 18-year-old Prince Andrew piped up across the small table to his mother. Have you heard how Pap's got on? Oh yes, the Queen replied. He came in 6th. 6th, came the response with a stress that showed not just disappointment but real disgust. What came into my mind was that, with a typical teenager to cope with, the Queen has normal family problems too. But instantly, the maturer and ever-sensitive brother Prince Charles intervened to explain to me, the only guest present, that Prince Charles was over in Switzerland for a carriage driving event, and, while he just used horses from the Windsor stables, other competitors had much superior Welsh ponies. Earlier in the next summer, I noticed in the Scotsman that the Queen's birthday gift to her husband was a team of Welsh ponies. Yours, etc., Reverend Jack Kellett. Address supplied. Lying in state, Sir, it was fitting the late Queen's body lay for one night, Sunday, at Holyrood House. Even more had it been in the adjoining former Abbey and Chapel Royal. For here lie the remains of so many of her ancestors: David II, James II, Mary of Guterres, James V, Mary of Guise, Lord Darnley, and others. Many of the remains were desecrated in the anti-Catholic riots of 1688 and reinterred by Queen Victoria. As St George, Windsor, later came to replace Westminster as chief royal mausoleum, so did Holyrood and others replace Iona and Dunfermline. Indeed, this must be the first time a royal corpse was laid in Holyrood since 1567. St Giles, for the second night in Edinburgh, is definitely significant in being where Queen Elizabeth was proffered the honours of Scotland in June 1953. Yours, etc., H.I.R. Allen, by email. Dignified, Sir, I've often criticised the First Minister for her lack of dignity and grace, and I found her body language when, with Boris Johnson, or members of the royal family, embarrassing and merely and obviously playing up to her party's extremist fringe. As well, I thought the SNP's attitude to the free book produced for children to mark the 70th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's accession to the throne was churlish and mean-minded. However, in the wake of the Queen's death, may I say the First Minister has acted to date in an exemplary fashion. Being dignified is not as hard as perhaps she thought. Maybe she will now realise that being pleasant and courteous and graceful is easier than being churlish and does not diminish her political views in any way. In fact, much the opposite. It is a pity for Scotland's image she could not have learned this a long time ago. Yours, etc., Alexander Mackay. Address supplied.
Lending an ear to our young people. Children's Hearing Scotland, CHS, launches its autumn campaign today to recruit new panel members to support infants, children and young people in their local communities. Across Scotland, the organisation is looking to recruit volunteers from a diverse range of backgrounds, aged 18 and over, who can listen, show empathy, build trust and show compassion. Panel members are volunteers who take part in children's hearings. Their role is to listen to make legal decisions with and for infants, children and young people. They are there to ensure that a young person is at the heart of every decision made, because every decision, no matter how big or small, has an impact on the life of the child or young person in the hearing. All panel members, once selected, will take part in the CHS Dedicated Learning Academy. They will also gain a Professional Development Award for Children's Hearings in Scotland, panel members from the SQA. Elliot Jackson, Children's Hearing National Convener, said, Scotland has an ambition to be the best place in the world to grow up, to make sure all children are loved, safe, respected and able to fulfil their full potential. For some children and families, the children's hearing system has a significant role to play in this ambition. Children's hearings couldn't operate without volunteer panel members making decisions with and for children and young people. To do this, we are committed to having children at the heart of everything we do, including recruitment. This campaign comes at an exciting time of growth and change at CHS and is totally centred on what young people who have experience of children's learnings are telling us they want to see in their panel members. Qualities like being caring, compassionate, open-minded, empathetic and a good listener. If you want to make a difference, I encourage you to take the opportunity this year to join our volunteer community. There are 2,500 volunteer panel members in Scotland. In 2020 to 21, 16,248 children's hearings were held, supporting 8,977 children. Apply by midnight on October the 6th at https://chsscotland.gov.uk.
Have your say on death by driving. The Scottish Sentencing Council is holding a public consultation on Scotland's first offence guideline, which covers offences of causing death by driving. The draft guideline sets out sentencing ranges to assist judges when deciding sentences for the statutory offences involving causing death by driving. A 12-week consultation has now opened for members of the public and interested organisations to have their say on the draft guideline before it is finalised. Lady Dorian, Council Chairwoman and Lord Justice Clerk said, "This guideline will bring significant benefits to both the public and to the courts. Causing death by driving offences are very serious in nature and are of significant public concern. They can be among the most complex and emotive cases before the courts, and a guideline that explains how the sentences are decided, listing some of the factors taken into account, will be helpful to public understanding. The guideline will also assist in relation to the predictability of a sentence. In court, the guideline will assist judges in making what, at times, can be challenging sentencing decisions. There can be a significant difference between the harm caused, in these cases of fatality, and the culpability or level of blame of the offender. It is vital to us that we get the widest possible range of views and would urge people to take this opportunity to help shape our first offence guideline, which will also serve as a template for future offence guidelines. To have your say, visit consultations.scottishsentencingcouncil.org.uk by November 22nd. That's consultations.scottishsentencingcouncil.org.uk by November 22nd.
Public meetings to help the Scottish Ambulance Service. The Scottish Ambulance Service, SAS, is holding 3 virtual meetings this month for the public to provide feedback on its air ambulance service prior to its procurement. The meetings will take place via Zoom on September the 22nd, 26th and 29th from 7pm to 8pm. It will build on questionnaire feedback from the first phase of the air ambulance re-procurement consultation and engagement programme, which ran earlier this year. The air ambulance service, which is funded in its entirety by the Scottish Government, transfers patients living in remote, rural and island communities to and from hospital. It also provides air ambulance support to the Scott Star retrieval teams and responds to 999 calls in a helicopter emergency medical service HEMS role. Currently, the service is delivered through a managed contract with 2 helicopters, one based in Glasgow and one in Inverness, and 2 fixed-wing aircraft, one at Aberdeen Airport and one at Glasgow Airport. In addition to the 4 government-funded aircraft, the service is supplemented by 2 helicopters provided by Scotland's charity Air Ambulance. A national multidisciplinary team of paramedics, nurses, advanced practitioners and doctors work together to provide a flexible and responsive service that offers timely, safe and effective care for patients. Paul Massett, SAF's Chief Operating Officer, said, "These online meetings are a key part of our consultation work, and their output will inform the re-procurement of our air ambulance service prior to its renewal. It's vital we collate as many views as possible, so I'd encourage people to join the meetings and share their opinions with us. To register your interest for an online meeting and to receive joining instructions, email sas.airamb@nhs.scot. That's sas.airamb@nhs.scot with your preferred date. For those who cannot attend these sessions, please also contact the above email address and a consultation form will be sent to you for a week commencing September the 19th. The SAS's air ambulance service undertakes around 3,500 missions every year across Scotland.
Age Scotland welcomes rent freeze. The First Minister has imposed a rent freeze for private socially rented homes as older tenants in Scotland struggle to cope with the crippling cost of living crisis. Freezing rents until the spring and banning evictions over winter will give some reassurance to the hundreds of thousands of older renters who find themselves faced with soaring energy bills and the rising cost of essentials including food. Welcoming the move, Adam Stracura, Head of Policy and Communications at Age Scotland, said, "Older people on low incomes are facing one of the worst cost of living crises in memory. For the growing number of older people living in rented accommodation, the announcement is at least one less thing for them to worry about over the winter. Age Scotland's helpline 0800 1244 222 is also on call to support older people who are struggling.
District News, Churches. Kirkintilloch, Church of God. At Regent Hall, Regent Street, every Wednesday our coffee corner is open from noon to 2 p.m. for home baking and coffee. Join our friends and neighbours for a chat over a coffee. On Sunday, there will be a Zoom service at 6:30 p.m. The speaker this week will be Tony Smith. A warm invitation to everyone who is able to join us on Zoom. Access details for the stream can be obtained by emailing hello@regenthall.org. For up-to-date and further information on our services, visit our website on www.regenthall.org. Jesus said, "The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and give his life as a ransom for many." Mark chapter 10, verse 45. Home Church, Scotland. Lammermoor Road, Kirkintilloch, G66 2AB. I look to the mountains. Where will my help come from? My help will come from the Lord who made heaven and earth. Psalm 121, verses 1 and 2. One Church, Home Church. 4 locations: Kirkintilloch, Glasgow, Stornoway and online. A church for all ages. 9:30 a.m. Communion. 10 a.m. Prayer time. 10:30 a.m. Fellowship, tea and coffee available. 11 a.m. Worship service in Children's Church, followed by tea and coffee. The Sunday evening service is in Renfield Centre, Bath Street, Glasgow at 7 p.m. Minibus leaves Home Church at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. is Fellowship Night, including prayer and Bible study, starting on September the 14th. Alpha starts soon in Kirkintilloch and Glasgow. Youth meet on Fridays at 7:30 p.m. See Facebook and Instagram for up-to-date information for September. St David's Memorial Park Church. At St David's Memorial Park Church, our morning service on September the 18th will be at our usual time of 10:30 a.m. and will be led by our Church of Scotland reader John Nicholson. During our morning worship, school-aged children will have the opportunity to go through to our halls for their own time of fun and learning with jam. All are welcome to attend our service. There are some COVID measures still in place, however. The wearing of face masks is not mandatory at this time. We look forward to welcoming you to the church. Our Tuesday lunchtime service will be held each Tuesday from noon in our small hall. Our next service will be Tuesday, September the 20th. All are welcome to attend this afternoon service. Our guild is also resumed and will take place on September the 20th from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. The theme is Blether with Beat. We would like to extend a warm invitation. Kenmure Parish Church. Alison and Bruce Keith will lead us in our morning worship this Sunday, beginning at 11 a.m. The service will be followed by a time of fellowship, teas and coffees in the hall. We will also hold an informal cafe-style praise service in the hall, starting at 7 p.m, with a mixture of praise and fellowship, not to mention the cake and scones. A warm welcome is extended to both the morning and the praise services. The wearing of masks we leave to personal choice throughout the sanctuary. The service will be live streamed on YouTube and can be found by searching for Kenmure Bishopbriggs. Our GB company has started its new session, meeting on Tuesdays with Explorers, P1 to P3, from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Juniors, P4 to P7, from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and Seniors, S1 to S6, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Toddlers group are also meeting on Wednesday mornings from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Details of all our groups that are currently running may be found on our website kenmure-church.co.uk. To find us on Facebook, just search for Kenmure Parish Church. If you would like to join our WhatsApp group or receive the Bible studies from ABC, then email us at kenmurechurch@icloud.com. Colston Wellpack Church. Welcome to our morning service this Sunday at 11 a.m, led by Reverend Ronnie Craig, Leslie Grieve on holiday. Tea and coffee served in the hall after the service. The Colton Art Club is on this Monday at 10 AM till 1 PM. New members invited. For further information, contact 07709 584 680. The 200th Boys Brigade has restarted, and anchor and junior sections commenced on Tuesdays at 6:30 PM. Company and senior sections Fridays at 7 PM in the church halls. The Brownies have also restarted and are looking for girls aged 7 to 10 years, starting at 6:30 PM on Wednesdays. The food bank remains open every Monday and Friday from 2 PM to 4 PM. All donations of non-perishable foods gratefully appreciated. Follow our services on Facebook at Colston Wellpark Parish Church. And if you require further information on our church activities and so on, contact 07813 255 952. Springfield Cambridge Church. Morning worship on Sunday, September the 18th, will celebrate Harvest Thanksgiving. The service will be led by Reverend Ian Taylor, Reverend Esland Duque de Castro, and Mrs. Julie Harty at 11 AM in the sanctuary. The Sunday school has resumed in room 2. There is also a creche facility where we will be happy to look after your child, birth to 3 years, in room 2. Donations to the Harvest Thanksgiving this year will support the work of the Lodging House Mission and the local food bank and Colston Wellpark Church. Full details of items for donation can be found in the September copy of our magazine, which is online from September 11 on our website and Facebook page. Morning worship has also been live streamed on the Springfield Cambridge Church YouTube channel. A link to this can be found at www.springfieldcambridge.org.uk and Facebook page, where information about events and church organisations can also be found. Rolls and sausage, tea and coffee are available after the service in the Cameron Hall. Come along and enjoy the fellowship. There will be a vestry hour on Wednesday, September 14th from 10 AM to 11 AM for anyone who wishes to speak with the minister. There will be a short weekly service of worship in the Springfield Chapel on Wednesday, September the 14th from 11:10 AM to 11:30 AM, with refreshments afterwards in the Hall of Fellowship. All sections of the 65th Company, the Girls Brigade, meet on Tuesday evenings. The Explorers, P1 to P3, 6:30 PM to 7:30 PM. The Juniors, P4 to P7, 6:30 PM to 8 PM. And the Brigaders, S1 to S6, 7 PM to 8:30 PM. The Junior section of the Boys Brigade, P4 to P7, meets on Thursdays from 7 PM to 8:30 PM. The Company section of the Boys Brigade, S1 to S6, meets on Thursdays from 7 PM to 9 PM. The Anchor Boys section of the Boys Brigade, P1 to P3, meets on Fridays from 7 PM to 8 PM. For further information, please email anchorboys268@aol.com. All of the organisations will be pleased to greet new and returning members. St Columba's Hillhead Church. Do join us for our Sunday morning service at St Columba's at 10 AM or at Hillhead at 11:30 AM. Tea, coffee and juice will be served after the service at St Columba's and before the service at Hillhead. We'd love to meet you, but if you really can't come to this service in person, you can still connect with us by live stream from St Columba's via www.kirkintillochstcolumbus.org.uk or by searching for St Columba's Hillhead Kirkintilloch on YouTube. We also have a shorter midweek service at St Columba's on Wednesdays at 10 AM. Busy Bees Carer and Toddler Group has now restarted at Hillhead on Wednesdays at 10 AM, and Little Fish's Carer and Toddlers Group is on Fridays at 10 AM in St Columba's. First Kirkintilloch BB has also restarted after the summer and meets on Friday evenings for school-age boys. Reverend Philip Wright, Minister, St Columba's Hillhead Church, Old Dale Road, Kirkintilloch, G66 3HQ, and 2 Rosebank Avenue, Kirkintilloch, G66 2PR. P. Ride at churchofscotland.org.uk. Mobile 07427 623 393. Torrens Parish Church. The Sunday morning service, in person, is at 10:30 a.m, conducted by Reverend Stuart Irvin. During the service, the youngsters meet together in the creche, Junior Church and Frog. To join the service online, try www.torrensparishchurch.online.church, or to listen by phone, call 0131 460 1196. Then, when prompted, enter the meeting ID 827 9548 7848. The cafe is open on Wednesday 9 a.m. to 12 noon for teas and coffee, serving delicious home baking. Why not pop in and taste for yourself? The prayer ministry team will also be available from 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon. The Girls' Brigade will resume on Wednesday, September the 14th, and the Boys' Brigade restarts on Thursday, September the 15th. Find out about regular weekly activities. Go to www.tpc.org.uk. Milton of Campsie Church. We're back in the building, no need to book. If you sit in the centre aisle, there is no need to wear a mask. If you sit in the side aisles, please wear one. Time to Pray has resumed its meetings on a Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. Come and go as you please. This month's donations to the food bank were a colossal 108.5 kilograms and £42.50 in cash. Thank you. We'll be collecting again on the last Sunday of the month. Monday, Baby and Toddler Group, Hobbies Club, Badminton Club. Wednesday, Coffee and Cake Afternoon for Guild Week. Time to Pray, Kirk Session. Friday, BB Anchor and Junior sections restart. Our family Kelly on Saturday, September the 17th is for all the family from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. There will be music, a bouncy castle, juice, no alcohol and cake, plus an opportunity to donate to URAID. Next Sunday, we'll be reading John chapter 3, 13 to 17. Send us a picture of yourself with something you bought recently: sofa, sweeties, bag of fair trade rice, clothes. Our messenger magazine is now ready for distribution throughout the village and beyond. Look out for a copy coming through your door. St Mary's Parish Church. The service on Sunday, September the 17th, will start at 11 a.m. and be taken by the Reverend Dr. Ruth Morrison. The young people will go over to the halls for age-appropriate activities during the service. After the service, tickets for the harvest lunch will be on sale in the hall. This lunch will follow the Harvest Festival service to be held on Sunday, October the 2nd. The tickets will cost £1 to reserve a place, plus a donation on the day. The lunch will comprise a baked potato with a choice of fillings. Wednesday welcome will take place on Wednesday, September the 20th, when tea and coffee will be served from 10 a.m. This is a very friendly meeting with time to chat to new and old friends. The time of fellowship will be followed by a short service taken by Reverend Dr. Ruth Morrison. Bishopbriggs, St James Church, Hilton Road, Bishopbriggs. Rector Reverend Canon Paul Watson on 0141 230 4080. On Saturday, September the 17th, Dads and Toddlers will be taking place in the church again from 10:45 a.m. All dads and toddlers are very welcome to come along. Bacon rolls will be provided for the dads. On Sunday, September the 18th, there will be a Sunday club at 10:30 a.m. The church is now open for socially distanced services. Face masks are personal choice. There is a communion service at 11 a.m. on Thursday in the chapel, and on Sunday the 18th, the 9 a.m. service is cancelled. There is a shortened communion service at 10:30 a.m. as after coffee that Sunday we have our AGM. Everyone is welcome. Do stay on for tea or coffee and fellowship afterwards. The Meditation Labyrinth is still available in the car park for a mindful walk around. There are also other virtual services and groups. For up-to-date and further information, refer to our social media, Facebook, St James the Less Bishopbriggs. Website, www.stjamesbishopbriggs.org.uk. District News General. Music can unlock memories. Musical Memories Springburn has restarted its happy music and singing sessions for people affected by dementia and their carers. We meet every Monday at 2 p.m. at Springfield Church, opposite Springburn Rail Station. This award-winning project, Times Community Champions, provides live music and refreshments and is led by a friendly volunteer team. We have our own specially printed songbooks and we sing some Scottish songs and some popular standards of yesteryear. It is totally free. Sometimes we have some gentle movement, but it's absolutely optional. McNamara's band is our favourite. If you are interested, just pop in or call Brian on 0141 563 5511. Milton of Campsie, SWI. Our next meeting is on September the 14th at 7:30 p.m. in the Village Hall. Our speaker is Mary Drury, who makes jewellery from silver spoons. If you wish to purchase jewellery, he accepts cash or cheque. Proceeds go to Strathcarron Hospice. Competitions are to bring a favourite piece of jewellery and upcycle something, make an item from something else. Visitors always welcome, £5. Scotland, Scottish Archaeology Month. Scottish Archaeology Month is the biggest celebration of Scottish heritage, history and archaeology. The exciting programme includes in-person and online events, from fairs, reenactments and guided tours, to lectures, archaeological digs, and something for everyone. Full details at www.archaeologyscotland.org.uk. Come along and play Scrabble. Recently supported with funding from the National Lottery, Kirkintilloch Scrabble Club meets every Wednesday afternoon from 1:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Kirkintilloch Miners Social Club. It caters for beginners and experienced players, some playing sociable fun games, others at a more competitive level, including optional entry into our annual league contest. A shield donated by our founder Cathy Rundell will be awarded to the winner. New members very welcome. The club provides everything needed such as Scrabble sets and dictionaries. We also provide refreshments. Just turn up or contact Linda Harper on 07506 434 265 for more details. Holyrood View Programme for Government Outlined by Ross Greer, MSP. Many readers will understandably be feeling nervous about the future. We've gone from a pandemic to a cost of living crisis, and both while the climate and nature emergencies continue to unfold. The challenges for people and for governments are huge. Green ministers worked hard over the summer to ensure that this term's Programme for Government, PFG, where the government set out what it will be doing over the next year, can meet these challenges. With spiralling costs, many tenants fear they will lose their home. The Scottish Government was able to protect people from eviction during the pandemic, and I'm proud to say that the PFG includes not only a further ban on evictions, but also a rent freeze for social and private tenants until at least March 31st. Scottish Greens co-leader Patrick Harvey will take this emergency legislation through Parliament in his role as Minister for Tenants' Rights. This comes ahead of a major bill he will put forward to introduce permanent rent controls and make wider changes to improve the situation for those who rent. We're also continuing to undo the damage done by Westminster, whose policies are driving more people into poverty rather than lifting them out of it. We're increasing Scottish child payments to £25 per week and expanding it to under 16s. Free school meals are being rolled out to primary 6 and 7 pupils, and we're mitigating the Tories' cruel benefit cap. The programme contains bold action to tackle the climate emergency, including massively expanding cheap renewable energy like onshore wind and solar power. A heat and buildings bill will set out new standards for energy efficiency in buildings. We're setting up a scheme for low-income households to replace polluting vehicles with better alternatives. There's record investment in active travel, and we're expanding 20 mph zones saving on fuel costs for drivers and making our streets safer. We're also banning the cruel practice of conversion therapy, which attempts to cure LGBT people, passing reforms to make it easier for transgender people to be legally recognised as who they are, and will put into law the proposals brought forward by Green MSP Gillian Mackay to create harassment-free zones outside abortion clinics.
Family announcements. Deaths. Jarvie, Agnes. Suddenly at home on Monday, August 29th, 2022. Agnes, beloved wife of late George, loving mum of Susan and Lee, proud grand to all her grandchildren. Funeral service to take place on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, at Daldowie Crematorium, at 12 noon. Family flowers only, please. There will be a retro collection in favour of Alzheimer's Scotland. Public notices. Planning notices. East Dunbartonshire Council public notices. Civic Government Scotland Act 1982. Application for renewal of second-hand vehicle dealer licence. The undernoted has applied for the renewal of a second-hand vehicle dealer licence in terms of the above Act. Name and address of applicant: Stephen Fraser, 18 Kirk Stall, G64 3JQ. Day-to-day manager: Stephen Fraser. Premises: 8 Old Mill Park, Kirkintilloch, G66 1SS. Days and hours of trading: 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Any objections or representations in terms of paragraph 3, brackets 1 of Schedule 1 of the Act should be logged with the undernoted no later than 28 days from the publication date of the newspaper in which this advertisement appears. Deputy Chief Executive, Education, People and Business, East Dunbartonshire Council, 12 Strathkelvin Place, Kirkintilloch, G66 1TJ. Civic Government Scotland Act 1982. Application for renewal of second-hand dealer licence. The undernoted has applied for the renewal of a second-hand dealer licence in terms of the above Act. Name and address of applicant: Eastside Tyres Limited, 3C Canal Street, Kirkintilloch, G66 1Q. Day-to-day manager: Graham Lang, 11 Hillcrest Road, Kilsyth, G65 9EL. Premises: Eastside Tyres Limited, 3C Canal Street, Kirkintilloch, G66 1QY. Trading days and hours of business: Monday to Saturday, 9:30am until 5pm. Goods: second-hand tyres. Any objections or representations in terms of paragraph 3, brackets 1 of Schedule 1 of the Act should be logged with the undernoted no later than 28 days from the publication date of the newspaper in which this advertisement appears. Deputy Chief Executive, Education, People and Business, East Dunbartonshire Council, 12 Strathkelvin Place, Kirkintilloch, G66 1TJ. Members' surgeries. Councillors' arrangements for interviewing residents. Ward 5, Glasgow South, Gordon Low. 17th of September 2022, Bishopbriggs Academy, 10am until 10:45am. 17th of September 2022, Bishopbriggs Library and Community Hub, 11:15am until 12 noon. 17th of September 2022, Auchinairn CE Centre, 12:30pm until 1:15pm. Ward 7, Kirkintilloch East and North and Twicker, Pamela Marshall. 17th of September 2022, Kirkintilloch Hub, Room 1, 10 a.m. until 10:45 p.m. 17th of September 2022, Hillhead Community Centre, Room 2, 11:15 a.m. until 12 noon. 17th of September 2022, Twecker Healthy Living and Enterprise Centre, 12:15 p.m. to 1 p.m. Ward 7, Kirkintilloch East and North and Twecker, Stuart MacDonald. 14th of September, The Hub, William Patrick Library, Room 1, 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. 14th of September 2022, Hearstains Huts, 4:45 p.m. until 5:15 p.m. 21st of September, Twecker Healthy Living Centre, 5:30 p.m. until 6 p.m. 21st of September 2022, Hillhead Community Centre, 6:15 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. Ward 7, Kirkintilloch East and North and Twecker, Susan Murray. 21st of September, Kirkintilloch Hub, Room 1, William Patrick Library, 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. Between surgeries, counsellors can be contacted at the Members Support Unit on 0300 1234510. That number again is 0300 1234510. Planning applications. Format: application number, followed by address location, followed by proposal, followed by type of advert, followed by period of reps. TP/ED/22/0552 33B Townhead Kirkintilloch, Eastern Bartonshire, G66 1NG. Proposed change of use from Class 1 retail to Class 3 food and drink with ancillary takeaway. Sue Generis. Formation of replacement extraction system. Section 65, affecting CA 21 days. TP/ED/22/0567. 111 Cow Gate, Kirkintilloch, Eastern Bartonshire, G66 1JD. Change of use from an office to a residential dwelling. Section 65, affecting CA 21 days. TP/ED/22/0579. 8 Regent Square, Lenzie, Eastern Bartonshire, G66 5AE. Single storey extension to rear of dwelling house. Section 65, affecting CA 21 days. TP/ED/22/0595. 48 Kerr Street, Kirkintilloch, Eastern Bartonshire, G66 1JZ. Replacement front door and window. Section 65, affecting CA 21 days. The application plans and other documents can be viewed online through the Council's website. The current restrictions on non-essential office work associated with the coronavirus pandemic means that plans cannot be viewed in Council offices as normal. Written comments may be made within the above period to the Council through the Council's website or to the above address. Any representations will be treated as public documents and made available for inspection by interested parties, and may also be published on the Council's website. Historic Event Unveils Schedule. An article written by Brian Yule and read by myself, Corey. The 2023 UCI Cycling World Championships has unveiled the official schedule for the inaugural multi-discipline cycling event. This gives cycling fans around the world a first sight of the full scale of the historic festival of cycling coming to Glasgow and across Scotland for 11 days next August. This is the first time all 13 UCI World Championships will be combined into one mega event, making it a cycling event unmatched in size and scale. From the Highlands to the Borders and across the Central Belt, thousands of the world's top cycling athletes will be in competition, and with inclusivity at its core, the event will also feature paracycling and junior competitions. In a first for a UCI World Championships, the Women's Elite Road Race will bring the curtain down on the competitions. In addition to championing female cyclists, the decision to stage the Men's Elite Road Race on the opening weekend and the Women's Elite Road Race on the closing day was taken to ensure the best possible alignment with the UCI Road International calendar, in particular with respect to their respective Tour de France. The full schedule of events across all 11 days, including BMX racing, BMX freestyle, Gran Fondo, indoor cycling and trials, can be found at www.cyclingworldchamps, that's cyclingworldchamps.com/schedule, which is SCHEDULE. Paul Bush, chair of the 2023 UCI Cycling World Championship, said, "Unveiling the full schedule of the 2023 UCI Cycling World Championships is an incredibly exciting milestone in the build-up to the largest cycling event in history. Fans from around the world can start planning their trips to Scotland to celebrate the power of the bike across 13 exhilarating UCI World Championships. The first of its kind event further strengthens our position as a world-leading events destination and reinforces Scotland's place as the perfect stage for events, and we can't wait to welcome everyone in 2023. The anticipated global TV audience will place the Cycling World Championships in the top 10 most watched sporting events in the world, rivaling the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games." That article written by Brian Newell and read by myself, Corey. Scottish sport pays its tributes to the Queen. An article written by Brian Newell. Much of the sporting calendar was postponed at the weekend as a mark of respect following the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The SFA, SPFL, SWPL, Highland and Lowland football leagues met on Friday morning to agree that all professional football matches will be postponed. Rod Petrie, SFA president, said, "We spoke with our counterparts across the UK, and in our discussions with our colleagues across the professional game in Scotland, it was agreed that this was the appropriate step to take following the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We will work with our clubs and members in the meantime to ensure appropriate steps are taken throughout the period of mourning." The Queen was patron of the SFA, and the organisation offered its condolences to the royal family upon her passing. Mr. Petrie said, "On behalf of the Scottish football family, I send my condolences to the royal family following the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. We will join the nation in a period of mourning and reflect on the indomitable spirit that characterised Her Majesty's long reign and the enduring legacy she leaves behind. Her Majesty's love and affinity for Scotland is well known and long established, and we at the Scottish FA are deeply saddened by the passing of our patron." Neil Doncaster, Chief Executive of the SPFL, added, "The passing of the Queen, a constant in our lives for 70 years, is a profound and momentous occasion. It is therefore appropriate that professional football marks this event with all possible solemnity. We will update clubs and supporters when we have clarity over the official arrangements for Her Majesty's funeral." Having received advice from the governing body, the West of Scotland, South of Scotland and Scottish GFA also cancelled their weekend programmes. The SRU made the decision on Thursday night to postpone all domestic competitive matches at the weekend. A statement from the SRU said, "Scottish Rugby is dearly saddened to hear of the passing of Her Majesty the Queen. The Queen's dedication and service to public life was without equal during her 70-year reign, and our sport was honoured to host Her Majesty on several occasions. On behalf of the rugby community in Scotland, we send our sincere condolences to the royal family at this time." Horse racing, one of the Queen's great passions, was suspended, including the weekend's events at Musselburgh. A statement from Scottish Racing said, "As a mark of respect, the British Horse Racing Authority confirmed racing would be suspended across the UK on Saturday, and the suspension also included Middlesbrough on Sunday. Scottish Racing extends our sincerest condolences to all members of the royal family and all those affected by the death of Her Majesty the Queen. The Queen had a great love for our country and was a passionate supporter of our sport. Our thoughts remain with all members of the royal family." Scottish Hockey also offered its condolences. It tweeted, "Scottish Hockey expresses its deepest sorrow at the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. As a true ambassador of sport, the Queen's passing will be felt greatly across the hockey community and across the world. Our thoughts and condolences are with the royal family at this sad time." The 4G National Track Relays at Grangemouth did ahead on Sunday with marks of respect for the Queen. A statement from Scottish Athletics said, "Everyone at Scottish Athletics is saddened by the passing of Her Majesty the Queen, and we send our thoughts and condolences to the royal family. Following careful consideration, and after reviewing the Scottish Government's guidance on the period of mourning, we decided to host, as planned, our national track relays at Grangemouth on Saturday. To pay our respects and to mark the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, we held a minute's silence at the start of the event, which was repeated at the start of the afternoon session. We would stress this was an extremely difficult decision, which may lead to contrasting responses, which we do understand. One consideration was that we could see no realistic opportunity to reschedule in 2022, the final track and field event of the season." That article was written by Brian Yule.
Thank you for listening to this week's Kirkintilloch Herald podcast, brought to you by Q & Review Print Speaking to the Blind. If you've any feedback, you're welcome to call us on 0141 772 3976. If you enjoyed this recording, feel free to subscribe to our channel.